Hello and welcome to Needing a Meeting. My name is Carol. I will be your host today. How's everybody doing? Hey, Cosmic, I saw you in the chat a little earlier. Hey, Tony B. And I have Ben here with me. Hey, Ben.
Hey, you didn't catch me singing that time. To continue our conversation, we were having a short conversation to those people beforehand. What is your favorite part about the farm? What do you find your most favorite thing about it is?
It's green and it's peaceful, and I love our neighbors. And hey, Shannon Smith. Yeah, it's a lot of work. I won't lie about that aspect of it, but we love it. And I never would have expected Steve to get on board the way he has, but he really has. Can you hear me okay? I just noticed I didn't have my mic plugged in.
I hear you perfectly fine.
Okay.
That's kind of weird.
Hey.
Oh, she's in the dark today.
Oh, yeah, it's a bit dark. Hey, Google, turn on all lights. See if that works. Oh, there we go. Hey, we have lights.
That's as if by magic.
Right? I can change it to blue too. Hey, Google, change all lights to blue. Not right now, though. Thanks, Google.
Hey, Nancy. Good to see you. Anybody coming in from the lifeboat? No, oops. Let's silence you. There we go.
The amount of times I say,
hey, no,
little machine.
Close this window. Lord have mercy. Sorry about that, y'all. I was going to try to keep up with the lifeboat side of things, but it's not to be today. Hi, Izzy. Good to see you. So, yeah, I would like to introduce a topic, and that is, what do you do when you feel like you're not enough? How do you crawl out of that hole?
Good topic, because I'd like to know.
Yeah, because that brushes right up against a limiting belief right there. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. That's the most common one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm going through right now.
Wow. Well, you want to talk about it?
Yeah. Basically, like, for me, I feel like because I shouldn't have been here in the first place, I feel like I've never been enough. Like, due to my family, like, how I was result of a pedophile. And it's like, because of that, I felt like I've never been enough. Like, I've always had to prove that I deserve to exist, because my existence was a cruelty in itself. To my mother, what happened to her, and then to me, finding out later that it, what happened. So that's cruelty, And,
yes, it is.
So trying to figure out, all these years, 44 now, if I deserve to be here, if I'm ever going to be enough. Because I feel like I'm not enough, but I'm also too much, So, yeah. So, but it's like I don't know if it's ever gonna go. I mean, right now, my sister's telling me I have to grovel to get back her approval, and I'm not going to do that to anyone anymore. And and I don't feel like because all I did was ask what I did wrong. Well, no, I know what she thinks I did wrong, but I'd like to know why it was wrong, rather than, oh, it was so wrong. How can I fix something if I don't know the inner workings and all that sort of stuff? So that just feeds back to, she was meant to be here. I never was. So she's got this different aspect of life to what I do. She sees things differently. And that's fine. But because she sees things differently, I feel like I'm never going to be enough. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
yeah, well, it is what it is. But thank you. But it's just, it is what it is, and it feels like this is what it's always going to be. But I know that for the people that I'm good enough for, I'm good enough. So,
Yeah. Yeah. General Boa, what I mean by what do I mean enough is that, I think everybody at one point or another struggles with feelings of inadequacy, and it is a hole that is hard to get out of. Once you're enmeshed in it, and I'm kind of there myself right now, Shannon. And hey, Mayonnaise Entertainment and Kristen Melinda and Cults and Crims, we're funny. Hey, if you come
and you
from
kind
the
of got to
greatest,
wonder how much. Go
ahead.
I was going to say, I wonder how much of this has led back to sense of abandonment. Because if I was enough, then my mum would have stuck around and all that sort of stuff. And that's how it kind of goes for a lot of things. Or if if I was enough, if I was good enough, nice enough, pretty enough, or all the enoughs, maybe that person wouldn't have treated me the way that they treated me. And I think that can stem and that can last for a very long time, and it stems from a place of trauma as well, I think.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've had to brush up against, and this is a challenge for me as well, is that me being good enough wouldn't have changed the situation, because I had to come to realize it wasn't about me. It was about the person causing the trauma. And when it's about them, what they project, well, then, I can't change somebody else's behavior. I'm not responsible for anybody else's behavior, I guess.
Yeah.
One of the quick way, there's a lot of different ways that I found, to varying degrees, to help with this. That one thing I talk about doing, of putting my limiting beliefs on a wall, on a rotating desktop, having them blown in my face as if they're being celebrated, and looking at that and just feeling, how stupid is that? That actually works. That does work. One of the other things, like Psychology Today, that they suggest doing, and this brushes up against, why am I pulling the book out? I don't know, but this brushes up against self hypnosis, and it's actually a form of it, is writing down that, yeah, you are good enough, because nobody can. What Psychology Today will say is that nobody can make that decision that you are good enough except you. That you have to accept that, and that sounds a little harsh, because when you're feeling like you're not good enough, it's like, well, I'm already not good enough, and now you tell me. But I mean, you can kind of understand what they're saying at the same time, that you have to decide that you are good enough, write it down, and repeat it to yourself. And you're using that hypnosis, because we've hypnotized ourselves as if it wasn't bad enough going through traumas that I know we've all had. You have those events happening, but then afterwards we reinforce it on ourselves and just make it exponentially worse. And so that was the thing they suggest. That was the self-hypnosis suggestion, was to basically tell yourself, affirm yourself, and of course you can also reframe, I am good enough. uh, Thankfulness is a gratitude journal is a good way to combat that as well. This is what I'm grateful for. Here's what I have accomplished, and that's important to a lot of us, because most of us will tend to, I've done this. Oh no, our brain will say, nope, nope. What have you done for me lately? We just completely forget it. We concentrate on the negative. And yeah, if we haven't done something every 5 minutes, then our brain will love to go into one of Tommy's favorite, automatic negative thoughts, and he'll add a
Automatic negative
you
thought.
know.
I'm still wrapping my head around that I didn't know. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense too, because like if you keep telling yourself one thing enough, eventually you'll start to believe it. Like I was super depressed for 2 years, couldn't get out of bed, and then for like 6 months I pretended that I was happy. Just pretended. I faked it till I made it.
Did it help?
And it was just, it did, because it became like a natural sensation, instead of it being like, can't get out of bed. I was like, okay, I'm going to get out of bed. I'm going to put the song on. I'm going to talk to my kids like I'm a weirdo. And I did that for 6 months, and then eventually I was like, I'm pretty much, I'm not faking it anymore, and so it's amazing what the mind can do. And a lot of it is, I think, hypnosis of some sort, and self-hypnosis is the best, because someone else telling you, you're never going to believe it.
Yeah.
So you need to own your own voice.
Same exact thing. They can tell you all day long that you're never going to believe it until you believe it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, go ahead.
General Boa wanted to know what WTF is wrong with your sister. No one should speak to you that way or make you feel that way. And also said you can show them you are good and say you're sorry, but don't ever grovel. But you got to know what you're sorry for. And Cults and Crims says, I love this. If you come from the greatest parents on earth, it still has nothing to do with your worth. Worth is always
this here I'm finding.
It's always derived from who you are, how you treat others, and the love you spread. I love that. And Clean, there are so many people on the lifeboat because it is simulcasting to the lifeboat. The actual channel is my channel, and it's called Needing a Meeting. And so there's a channel called Needing a Meeting that is going live right now, and it's also going live on the lifeboat at the same exact time. So people can chat over at the lifeboat, and they can chat over here, and I can see the comments that come in from the lifeboat, since my streaming program will do that, which is cool. Anyway.
Yeah, and what I like what Christy said, because the thing is, I wish there was a way that I could implant in both of you the wonderful people that I see when I see you both. And the thing is, I know that there isn't. And, being told it by another person, it can have a little bit of effect, but it's not the same as overruling that automatic, that I'll use that Tommyism again, the automatic negative thought that you have just pounding on you constantly.
Right. Yeah.
And the whole parenting thing is so true, because I did my very best, and I'm constantly being told that it's not good enough by people who, one, aren't parents, haven't known, not that, people who aren't parents, haven't had children themselves, have the right to have an opinion. But that's all it is. It's an opinion. So they're not there. It's not fact. So, she's there having this opinion on my parenting because it's not her father's parenting. And I'm just like, I'm not your father. Stop telling me. And that's what sort of makes me feel like I'm not enough, is that because I haven't reached her high standards, then I'm not going to be enough. But you know what? I've done the very best I can, and that's all I can do. And I can't go back and change anything. So for her to sit there on her little pedestal of not being a parent, not really being involved in my life at all, not knowing me, she used a word against me that I think was the one word that doesn't hurt. So so for her to just turn around and use it as if she knows that it can hurt me, just shows how much it doesn't. And but the thing is, the fact that she was trying to hurt me, that hurts more, rather than the fact that it didn't, I guess. Because you shouldn't go around trying to hurt people.
No, you shouldn't. Is this a pattern that has kind of emerged with her?
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, we both have different experiences in life. So I've spent my life trying to understand why people behave the way they do, so that I can change my behavior so that they're safe again. I'm figuring this out in therapy.
Yeah.
That's basically why I do it. I change my behavior so that whoever I'm around is safe for me, because I haven't been safe. And so I've changed my behavior around her so that she won't come at me, because I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like she's the only one who's actually mine, who I have some sort of, concrete link to, whereas she doesn't feel the same for me, which I'm finding out. And that's okay. People can feel differently. It's just finding it out now, the truth. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, you don't think I'm really your sister. You just think I'm my mother's daughter. Well, okay, then how do you have a nephew? So
Right.
I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, does not compute, does not compute.
Does not compute. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot that doesn't compute, and I think that's a lot to do with the fact that I don't understand people. So, but that's why I try and figure it out, and it's really kind of sad for me, because I give people a lot of leeway because of
Yeah.
that. So I'm like, okay, this is why they're behaving the way they are. It's not okay that the behavior is that way, but I understand their behavior. So understanding their behavior, I think, sometimes is a bit. Maybe I've given them too much leeway, and so therefore, when I kind of want a little bit back, when I'm having my own. This is my moment. I'm having a moment, and I don't seem to be allowed to have my moment. I need to be
And
helping other people with theirs, basically.
yeah, no. That, wow. What
Yeah.
an
Well, this
entitled
is
little brat
human.
you've got for a sister. Sorry, but
Well, that seems to be the what do you call it? This consensus. But the thing is, it's coming from my side. So if she tells her side, there's going to be a completely different consensus.
yeah.
So it's always their side, my side, in the middle. So,
Yeah.
and whatever the middle is probably still isn't right, because we're both not understanding each other. And I'm
That's
really
right.
trying. I really want to know.
Yeah.
Miscommunication is it's terrible. Don't ever talk to anyone about anything serious over text, because you'll never get the context and the tone and the
That's
right, and because something I could say, I love you, things are fine, but they could read it differently. So something that I'm coming across, and when I talk, my words are what I mean. There's no inner, unless I'm doing a double entendre thing. But generally, there's no double speak. It's just what I say is what I mean, because otherwise, how's everyone going to know?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can find different examples of that. I found one of those on, I think it was a behavior panel. The phrase was something like, "I didn't say she stole my car," and all they do is change the emphasis. I didn't say she stole the car. I didn't say she stole the, and that you can get different meanings just by completely different meanings just by placing the emphasis
Emphasis
on the
on
same
one word.
phrase in different. But I like Tommy's comment
Yeah.
because he's
I,
approaching this in a different way, and I find that to be really
I
interesting.
love that. Decided
Yeah,
I wasn't good enough. So I reinvented myself into someone that was. It wasn't in
yeah,
my head. I was a pretty bad person. When in doubt, become a butterfly, so to speak. Love that.
yeah. What you do is you change something.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about constantly. Make your bed. Get out of the same environment. All these different tools that he talks about. That is a way to you're signaling to your brain something's different now, and that will create novelty. Novelty creates focus, and focus is one of those things in the fate model: focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. They're kind of ways that we can program that little itty bitty center of our brain that doesn't speak English, that only speaks emojis. That's a way to get down in there and say, this is now the way it is. And, I was approaching it through the emotion, looking at that limiting belief. Oh, I'm not good enough. So, like, it's being celebrated with balloons, and just how ridiculous is that? So yeah, that's there's a multitude of ways to approach it. I think they probably all mean, long term work, but I bet you that just changing something might be the quickest way. This is
Right
not
on.
this is maybe even have a funeral for your old self.
Yeah.
Maybe just
Yeah, I
having
am
a
very
funeral and
dramatic.
saying, "No, I'm new now. I'm a different person," and reinvent yourself like Tommy did. And Tommy is Colts and Crims. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do like
Oh,
the butterfly thing, because it seems like, when you're changing, you turn to mush, because that's what happened to butterflies. They turn to mush. So in the little chrysalis, it's just mush
yeah.
until they
Yeah.
evolve into a little, But so that's what I feel like I'm at now. I'm at the mush. I'm all mushy. There's nothing solid, or But that it's I like that, because it means that I might emerge from this more beautiful. I'm a little butterfly.
Yes. Yes. I love this
So,
coming from Izzy E too. All right. Sorry, I had my hands deep in tater tot batter on feeling enough. That's a whole lot of power to give someone else. And it's going to change depending on who's in front of you.
that's true. That's
That
part of
is so
the
true. Some people can just
changing
take us
who you
back
are.
into a place where we feel so small and so
Yeah.
insignificant.
Yeah, and depending on who you're in front of depends on how you have to act, because
Yeah.
because whoever you've already, it's hard to put this into words for myself, but it's like, say I'm talking to my best friend Mel, my carer. She's a darling, but I talk to her. I can talk to her about anything. There's no barrier. There's no boundary type of, because it's safe. She's completely 100% safe. I'm talking to someone else, say in her family, who still great, still love them, still know them quite well, but I don't know them as well as Mel. So there's that boundary of, I don't know what I can talk about. I don't know what's safe, So there's a bit of a bit of an act going on all the time, And it kind of feels like that's just life. You kind of have to act. You have to learn to be appropriate in front of certain people, and
Yeah.
like you can't act like you would to your spouse, to your boss, like you won't talk to them type thing. So that's just kind of how life goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Hi, Henny.
I find it. Oh, yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to say before I got too far off. Tara right now could use some ones. She is taking her test right now to become fully. I mean, she is a peer support specialist, but to become to where she can
She can
charge.
do the Medicaid. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, she's taking that test right now.
All the ones.
But
Yes.
Hope she doesn't touch her phone.
it
Touch
is
your phone, Tara.
it is interesting how culture plays such a a role. I've noticed. Was it emphatic statement? I mean, from the Greek, basically meaning spoken word, or adds to culture. In America, you say, "Hey, how you doing?" You're supposed to say back. You're supposed to say reply, "I'm good. How are you?" It's just a layer of. But I've noticed here, you can ask somebody, "Hey, how are you doing?" And they will come out and say, "You know what? I'm struggling." So that is something different about this culture versus American culture. I can't speak for Australia, but I imagine they probably have something similar where, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing good." "Okay." you know but I've noticed that different here. So I think our little boat has a different culture to it.
Yeah.
And it's probably okay to compliment each other here. And maybe if we're kind to each other, maybe that can also help. If we tell people that the wonderful people that we see, even if they don't believe it.
Shannon Smith, all any of us can do is our best. And Izzy, I love this. As a mom, I have a policy on parenting opinions. You can give them, but you've got the next tantrum while I go. You've got the next tantrum while I go take a nap. You're a good mom, Cosmic.
Thank you. It's like when I was breastfeeding, that there was a book that I read that was written by an Australian lady, Kaz Cook or something. And she said, if anyone's got a problem with you when you're breastfeeding, just say, "I'm sorry, my kid's hungry," and squirt him in the eye. Probably not a good idea, but Hi,
Good to
Chrissy.
see you, Christy. The
Hello.
topic today is feeling good enough. And how do you crawl out of the hole when you don't feel good enough? Or you don't feel like you're
Oh, right. That's a good topic.
Izzy says she'll be your sister, Cosmic.
I'll take all siblings.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's hard to crawl out of that hole when you don't feel like you're good enough, because that goes back to your self-worth. And for me, it does. It goes to my self-worth. And am I feeling worthy? And when I'm not feeling worthy, to self-isolate and have those compulsive behaviors come up. And it's very tricky to get out of it. For me, it's kind of this. Sorry, I got to adjust my thing here. It really turns into a spiral. So for me, it's kind of backwards. It's not my compulsive behavior that starts my self-isolation. It's my self-isolation that starts my compulsive behavior. So the more that I isolate, the more that I find I'm doing those things that are unhealthy, and I'm doing those things that are unhealthy and isolating because I'm not feeling worthy of, for whatever. And that's for me how that looks.
I can only be a better version of me, and I'm the only judge, jury, and executioner. Right on, Shannon Smith.
Yeah.
The self-isolation I get too, because I withdraw because I don't want people to see me suffer. Because when I'm suffering, I make everybody suffer. Well, it seems, because I suffer big. My feelings are, when I let them go, they're out there and big, and everybody feels it. And it's never directed at anyone intentionally. Generally, it's at me. But I do understand that, because this is when I become too much, because I feel not enough. What a quandary. Right. But it's like, but it's like, it's huge, my feelings are huge. And when they get this big, I know that I need to take myself away from people, because I don't need to deal with this. But the more I take myself away from people, the more I feel like I'm dealing with this. So it is like a vicious circle type thing. And so I need to put something that's to stop the circle, something needs to stop the circle so the energy can go elsewhere type thing. So, but self-isolation, that's why connection is so important. Places like the Spoke, peer support, because I woke up this morning feeling absolutely awful. Terrible news yesterday, a whole bunch of stuff. Emails from my sister, it's just like, wow. And then I get on this break and everything feels like I can do it. It's manageable, because I see other people who've been through very difficult times and they've got through it, and that actually helps. That's when the peer part is really important, because I can talk to any doctor and they're going to tell me all these different things and all these different ways, and yeah, sure, I'll listen to it. But when I do box breathing, I hear Christy's voice. It's not. It's not the same as when you hear it from someone who cares.
It's true.
It's funny. I learned box breathing, of course, through Confidence Reboot with some other neuroscience people, but I hear Christy's voice whenever I do it. I don't hear their voice telling me, breathe. I hear Christy. So.
Right. Aw, well, I'm glad I'm able to help you both navigate some of those more difficult times in life, right? Because that's why we that's why we do that. And I'll let you in on a little secret. I did it intentionally. I hijacked and rewired y'all's brains, not to hear my voice, but just so that you could. Tony, hi. How's your son doing with the surgery?
Hi, all. He's out of surgery. He did well, but recovery time is going to be a while. Now he won't be in the hospital the whole time. We're looking at maybe a couple of days in the hospital. Hold on. I think my in-laws are waiting on me to walk to their car. Hot. Come on, Jeanette. But he's he won't be able to smoke any. No, that's not that. He won't be able to smoke any cigarettes, vape,
Okay.
because it will impede the healing process. Matter of fact, if he smokes, the bone will not fuse to the metal in his back. So that's 6 months of no tobacco products for him.
Ooh.
They've got proven documentation that that's what happens. No working for 2 weeks, which is going to kill him. But they want to get him up, sitting up, moving, walking as soon as possible so that he can get out of the hospital. He has to wear his body brace for 3 weeks, and then he'll see the doctor at that time, and the doctor will do step downs with him on the back brace or on the body brace. And he'll have, quite a few appointments up to about 6 months. And then at 6 months, he'll probably go to a year, and just to make sure everything's doing really well on his back and everything. But it's going to be a long journey for the next year.
Yeah.
But I feel better. His back is good. The doctor said everything's seated really well.
Okay.
And the bones he's young, so his bones are really good.
Yeah.
So he doesn't foresee any issues with what he calls the cage that holds his spine solid. But when he goes in for an x-ray in about 3 weeks, the doctor will look to see if those are straight or angled. If they're angled, then he'll probably have to go back in for surgery, because they'll have to make the cage longer.
Wow.
So
Do they have nicotine patches or something to help him with the smoking, with the cravings?
I believe so, yes. They'll probably give him that.
Good. Okay. I love you, and you were seen, and everybody loves you too. So go be lovely
It's a
somewhere
cutie
else.
pie.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
well, that's one thing, Christy. Your dog sees what an amazing person you are too, and Carol's chickens also can't. I notice they also can't help but chime in as well. So
I have
I
dogs
mean,
that do the same thing.
I just wanted to say on the not smoking and vaping thing, I was told I have emphysema yesterday. Yeah, so it's probably a good idea, because I only really started smoking when I was in my 30s. I'm 44 now, so the doctor said that it's bad for my age. So I recommend anyone gives up smoking if they can. If not, harm minimization as best as possible.
Are you able to stop smoking?
Me,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, but that's a
That's
topic
gonna
for
be
another day.
okay.
Yeah. So
Well, do they
yeah,
give you any hope of improvement if you do, or?
no, there's no it won't improve. It will just stop, because you can't. Once emphysema comes, that's it.
Right.
Basically. So all I can do is harm minimization. So that's the best I can do. I only just found out yesterday. I've got this inhaler thingy, Henny. I'm very bad at it, because it tastes terrible. So, and then I've got to get on a steroid one, and I've got because it's quite urgent. I'll be seeing the specialist within a month. And this is what we were talking about yesterday, as far as the healthcare system.
Right.
If I wasn't as urgent, I would be within I think 3 months, and then a little bit, because it's like a rating program. So if you're on level 1, I think it's quick, urgent. 2 is not so urgent. 3 is like what's the one where you don't really need to have it, but it's elective. 3 is like an elective type thing. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so it's quite urgent. It's not great, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And I think finding it out right now, my doctor was really apologetic, because I also told her what's going on with me mentally after she told me. And then I'm like, she's like, I'm really, really sorry to give you the news. I'm like, no, I'm really, really sorry to tell you this news after that news, because it must be bad for her. So, but it's got no reflection on how I feel about anything at the moment, other than it's maybe shortened my lifespan slightly. So, but yeah, but it's but it could be a lot of things, because it's only really been in the last 6 months.
Okay.
So that it's got this bad. So,
Okay.
but yeah, that's all I want to say about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that I noticed in a comment Krista Melinda brought up about, I don't remember what it was, about, I think it was about comparing to other people. And I believe, unfortunately, I can't remember the comment, but I know that is part of what causes people to feel like they're not good enough too, is social media is a bad one, because what you're seeing is people projecting something that's unreal. We saw this in the case of he was a scumbag. Chris Watts' wife. Their marriage was going to crap, but yet on their Facebook it was all this, things are going great. And we know that that's what people are inclined to do, to paint themselves as, and we all do it to some extent on social media. And so
And that was taken to an extreme from MLM purposes, because they were selling a product, and as they were the product as well as the product, a happy marriage.
And that's another thing too, is advertising. Advertising will constantly barrage in some way. You're not good enough, and if that's influence, and if people, if you, or I shouldn't say people, but if anybody thinks they're not open to influence, why do you think it's? If anybody thinks they're not open to it, why do you think advertising is such a huge industry, and negative political ads are such a big thing? We're all open to influence, and I think we all have to.
They had to change laws here in Australia to change advertising during times that children are more likely to watch, because ads are so influential. So during kids' times, they're not allowed to have any sort of adult oriented ad type things. Well, they don't even have it anymore, like smoking. But when that's say if smoking or drinking or like alcohol, we don't have alcohol advertising generally on TV here. Like we kind of do, but it's not during the ad times. And I think it's mostly during sport. Like I can't actually remember there being any more beer ads for a long time. But that's changed, and it's also and the more they do it, like over and over and over and over again, the more it gets in there and it burns into your brain. So you go to the shop and you think, oh, what was that product that I heard about lots on? And it's like, I don't know, what's one? Scrub Daddy. I've heard about Scrub Daddy. I think it's a funny name, but it's like that's something that you'd go to the shop, and because of you've seen the advertising, you'll think it's better than any other product, but really it's not. It's just that's a pretty face.
You'd never see a commercial saying, well, this kind of fulfilled a need, kind of sort of in my life, and it's acceptable. No, they tell you you're lacking this, you'll be always have smiling people, you'll be happy if you have this, and you're
perfect family, perfect life.
You're constantly
barraged
with it.
Wife.
And then you figure, well, I don't have a new car, I don't have I didn't get a new diamond, I don't have this. So the message you get out of this is like, my life is not, I'm not happy, I'm not good enough to do, I must not have these things because I'm not good enough. So it's really insidious when you, I mean, and I get that they have to advertise, and they're of course not going to say, yes, this pen is mediocre, it does an acceptable job of writing, but they're not going to say that.
Right. Well, and what's ridiculous about it's ridiculous now that I'm older and I can see it, but it was not ridiculous in the moment. It looks like I've got some really weird haircut, but I don't. I just kind of noticed that. Anyway, what was ridiculous to me was, hold on. Stop. just come alive. I always used to feel bad because I was short and I wasn't blonde, and like those things about me that I cannot physically change. I mean, I can change my hair color. By the way, I look horrendous as a blonde. I did that. It was very bad. I can't grow 3 or 4 inches. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not ever going to be any taller than I am. And so for me, where my compulsion, I mean, it started with something someone said to me, but it really, and especially in the 80s and the 90s when I grew up, you had the supermodel, like, right? They were just, coming on to being seen. Yeah. And there was no way I was ever going to be that. Like, nothing, literally nothing I could do would ever make me that. But I was comparing myself to that. And how unfair is that to ourselves to compare us to a standard that is not achievable? It's not like I could have, practiced running and ran 5 miles and got really great looking legs or something like that. I mean, I was wanting to be like 5'8", when really being 5 foot would have been really awesome. I mean, I'm not going to be 5'8". And so I think we sabotage ourselves that way a lot. And as I've gotten older, I've seen where my younger self did that to me. And now my older self is having to undo the stupid stuff that my younger self, and again, it's, it caused a lot of issues, instead of having little hobbits run around, right? Instead of having cute little hobbits with brown hair run around, and be like, you're good enough, no, I'm like, I'm not gonna look like whoever. Fill in the blank.
Oh yeah, and that's one of to steal one of Tommy's examples. That's one of his things that he uses a lot is the airbrushed model that you're trying to compare yourself to a person that doesn't even exist. And in the case of Barbie, she couldn't exist. But
right.
and that's that's just one example.
But it's true though, because you think about it, and we've been bombarded with images since we've been born. Basically, what the perfect baby is meant to look like, and the perfect toddler, and the perfect onwards and upwards, because of advertising. Because this is what that kid looks like in that particular advertising. That's what that family looks like, and if we can't. And if we're all going through something, and but they're not going through something. All they are is really excited about whatever they're doing at the time, and it's like,
right.
And we don't have that because we're living in a real life. And I think I had a real problem with defining reality and TV when I was younger. And when my life became more dramatic to me than what the soap operas did, I stopped watching soaps because I'm like, why are they acting? Why are they acting about this? Why are they being so sad and angry when it's just an act? And why are we watching it? Why do we think other people's misery is entertainment? And it's like, that's when I really stopped watching it, because it seems like misery loves company, and that's where we're all at. And and it's pretty sad, I can't watch anything where someone's being negative to someone else on purpose. Like you get that those shows like I'm trying to think of one that's international, like Survivor. They're being really mean. They're like super mean, and they're doing it to get some money. And it's just like, it's like, how can people just sit there and watch that and just think that that's an okay place to be? And they're not even, and what we're seeing on TV is not even how they're doing it on the show when they're there. So we're watching a manufactured situation be manufactured. And it's just like,
Well, it was one of the things. I think I mentioned it before. I'll just mention it again real quickly. It was Dr. Phil raised this in his new book. He was talking about in early 2000s, Facebook changed their algorithm to where if you gave something a thumbs up, it counted as 1 point for the algorithm. If you used an angry face or a disappointed face in the comments, it counted that as 5 points. And so what it would do is if you disagreed with something, it would feed more of that to you than even if you had liked it, because what it was trying to do was get you emotional. You're emotional, then you're addicted, and it's kind of like Farmville all over again.
Yay.
Those cows. Give me the cows back.
Right. I wanted
Well,
to address what K1 said about, do women really wish they were taller? I do. And for me, my generation, like everybody that you've seen was super tall. So if you weren't that tall, you like wanted to be that tall. And I used to when I was younger. Now that I'm older, I have embraced my hobbitness. And I love that I can wear like 6-inch heels and I'm still only like, well, I can tell you how tall I would be.
But short people live longer.
Right. But, you know, it's, I've learned to embrace how unique it is to be as short as I am because, you know, like not everybody is that tall, but not everybody is this short. So, you know, it's kind of I've embraced the cuteness, you know, but yeah, you know, for me, like I said, it was a generational thing. I really wanted to be tall because I could be a supermodel, and you know, like I think at one point wasn't there even
to be a flight attendant?
flight attendant?
I
Yes,
really want
yes.
to be
So
a
like I
flight attendant,
couldn't
and I
even
was
do
like
that,
a couple of inches
right?
too short. Yeah.
Right. And I will tell you this. So at my house, when my family gets irritated with me, they take all of the stuff because it's on the bottom 2 shelves and they put it on the top shelf. And then I have to scale the cabinets, you know, like a spider monkey to get to it. So, but I have learned how to embrace it. And, you know, I kind of look at it as, I don't know that I would, you know, want to be as tall as my husband per se. Like, you know, I mean, it's kind of nice to be
There are
short. So,
benefits to being short, you know,
So,
and we do live
yeah.
longer. Doesn't have to beat as
Right,
much.
right. Plus,
so
it's easier for us to duck out of rooms.
I started out at 5'2". I'm now
Mhm.
4'11 and a half. I've shrunk because I'm
Oh
getting
man, I'll be
older.
3 foot tall by the time this thing's done.
But you know
I'll be
what?
as tall as the Camaro.
I'm one of those weird ones that I always liked being short. Because being short, my thought was, I can crawl under that cabinet. You tall person, you can't do that. Now, do I have to crawl the cabinet sometimes? Most definitely. But it's a lot easier to
Right,
crawl a cabinet than try to squeeze into a small, tiny space.
right, right. And see,
So
I
I
think
have always
mine,
embraced it.
I didn't embrace it too because I don't know if y'all have tried to saddle a tall horse when you're short. Like you really, it's funny. Um, it's
I
funny
had to,
swinging
I had
that
to get
saddle
the
up
stool.
there. Yeah.
That's
I was
what
like, hey,
those
horse,
stools are
get
made
here.
for.
Get on the stool, get on the horse.
Well,
Yeah.
if it helps at all, when I was young and skinny, I wanted to be shorter so I could be a fighter pilot. Of course, I can't be shorter, and I can't have perfect vision. Of course, the recruiter was really kind of creative. Well, they have eye surgery. Of course, even today, if you have eye surgery, you can't be a fighter pilot. No, they don't have the
Oh,
money.
see, I didn't
But
know that.
he didn't even tell me that part. But yeah,
And
Right.
you know what's really funny is that I
Guys,
have been on dating apps. Oh, Tony's going to say something. Oh, I've been on dating apps, and the thing that it seems that men seem to say one of the first things is their height. I'm like, cool. I don't
Right.
know why that's relevant. Like
Mm.
it's never been a thing for me ever. I've never met someone and gone, you're a bit too tall, or you're a bit too short, or you're just the right height. There's no,
Right.
you know, Goldilocks height for me. But and for men asking, it's women's weight. So and that relates back to, you know, society standards. You know, it seems that women want men who are taller, and men want women who are not who are skinnier, I guess, is the only way to say it. And it's just, but why? You know, why can't we just look inside? Because the
Yeah.
outside goes, ooh, but the inside stays the same unless the person's trying to fix,
Right.
heal themselves or
Well,
whatever, and it's just, and I feel like the outside is taken too much into account and the inside isn't. And some of the best looking people I know are the most unattractive, because
Right.
they're really looking until they open their mouth. And it's
Yeah.
just, okay, you're like, yeah, just shush. And it's, I just feel like that's part of what's going on now too. And that's one of the things that I think that the social media stuff helps, because it does, you can just, we don't have to be on screen. Sorry. We don't have to be on screen right now, but we can still hear each other's voices and hear each other's kindness and all that sort of stuff. And that's what matters in the end, I feel like.
Right.
And until society catches up, I don't think that's going to really, it's going to be a big issue. And we're going to have a lot of problems coming from it, as we have, and we do. So, yeah, I don't know how it's going to be fixed either.
I don't know that it will ever get fixed, but here's something funny that I just thought of. I seen King James. He said girls' heights are like low on a guy's list or something like that. There was this Cat Williams video he was doing, and he's like, you women are, you get all worried if like your fingers don't match your toes. Ain't no man ever walked out of a room or a date or a bedroom because the toes didn't match the fingernails. And it made me laugh. And I loved it because I was like, you know what? That's it right there. It matters to me, but it does not matter to whomever else. It doesn't matter to my husband. And so now when I get really down on myself, I think of that. I have that saved and I play it back because it cracks me up. If you haven't seen it, like, find it. It was really funny. And so that kind of gets me out of my head. If I can laugh at how ridiculous I am being. I'm not saying other people are being ridiculous in how they feel. Your feelings are valid and they're real. But for me, if I can laugh at myself, then it's not as serious, But yeah.
Well, that's my motto. All I do is laugh at everything. I've been looking for so many empathy memes. There's none that are funny.
Oh, well.
I want to lose my breath laughing.
Oh.
No, please. This is how I deal with stuff. I use humor because otherwise, if you don't laugh, you cry. And if you can, everything has a little bit of a silver lining. So, the first thing I did was I called up my son and said, "Please stop smoking." And if I can stop him from having the same thing, because this could be genetic. It might not just be because of how bad it is and how quickly. So could be a genetic component considering how much is run in my family. But there's also lots of smokers in my family. So who knows? I'll get tested there. But it's like if I can help my family by warning them and all that sort of stuff now, and I can stop them from doing something that's harmful, then that's a silver lining for me. And, I can take that. I can run with that. And, I'm going to make really terrible jokes. I mean, Mel's already said stop. So I'm just going to keep going because they're really funny.
Well, and I kind of wonder how much society may be, or the advertising may be projecting guys prefer this, speaking universally for all men. There was an old movie, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, that kind of thing. And it's like, well, who are you asking? And I keep wondering if they're not going for like the 16 to 18-year-olds. What do you like? Oh, you got to have this. And it's like, well, when I was 16 to 18 years old, I thought Spinal Tap was a real band. So,
But it's like who decides is the advertisers. So whatever the advertisers' preferences is what we're getting. And they have a little target market group for whatever they're advertising. Say if it's a little kid's toy, they'll get like a whole bunch of kids, get them to play with it. Kids like it, advertised. It's whoever's. It's the advertisers. It's a and the very small groups that they're doing the research things on, and that's what I always wondered that about polls that they do for elections. I'm like, who are they asking? And just for anything, it was like, so 25% of people think this. I'm like, but I wasn't asked.
You know.
So how can
Right.
25% of people think this? They're not asking everyone.
Right.
And I get there's statistics and blah, 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 but it's like, statistically, they're going to ask people that what they want to know the information from rather than, you know, society as a whole. And so it's like a confirmation bias, even in these groups themselves. It's like they're asking for what they want to know. So rather than, yeah, so it's just, and that's, it's, it's weird when you think about it, that it continues like this, and that a lot of people don't understand that this is what's happening. And that's because mostly people just want to get up, go to work, go to whatever, and go to sleep and just live. You know, they don't want to think about the deeper issues of life because it's too hard. And you know what, if I could, I would love to be that way. I honestly, I don't feel bad. I don't begrudge those people their life, because that's what they need to do to get through. And, you know, everybody's got to do whatever they need to do to get through. So, but I guess that's when it stems down to people who are activists and all that sort of stuff to stand up for what's right, because we are paying attention to the things that are happening, because maybe we don't want to focus on getting up in the morning and all that sort of stuff, because that's the bit that's too hard, you know. So who knows? It's,
Well, and that, you know, that's one of the tricks advertisers use too. Tribe. You know, it's one of the part of that fate model to get talking to that little AB part of your brain. You know, everybody's doing this. You want to do this. You want to be part of the tribe. And, you know, they've used authority, you know, like crazy. Doctors want, you know, doctors say this and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah,
4 out of 5 dentists recommend.
yeah, and they'll use all of it against you. And it's kind of. Go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say my favorite is, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. Gives you all the authority right there. Right there. I'm taking all my medical advice from you, Jack Wagner.
Yeah, there was a very, very famous commercial where it had Dr. Rob, I won't say his name, inventor of this, wants you to do this, you know, take this medication. And the thing about it, they're hoisting him up as the paragon of, you know, authority, and he's healthy. Look at him, he's rowing a boat. The person they had rowing the boat was an actor, because he wasn't healthy enough to row the boat, and yet he's telling you want this medication. And, you know, the thing they said he invented, it wasn't really quite what he really invented. And, you know, he's kind of a persona they just made up. But yeah, I found that to be kind of interesting.
Well, and it's a form of, like, you know, when we think of indoctrination, you know, we think of religion or cults or whatever, but advertising is too. It's getting you to think the way that they want you to think, to go, you know, buy what it is they want you to buy, whether it's a pair of $100 jeans or, you know, maybe something that truly can save your life. You know, I mean, it's not that they only advertise unhealthy, you know, things. They do advertise healthy things, but most of what you see really is to get you to act in a very certain way, you know, to look a certain way, to, yeah, I mean, I'm that way, you guys, I'm that way with my makeup, you know. I'm like, oh, I want this brand because it makes your skin look better. Well, y'all, when I was broke and I was buying the e.l.f. stuff from the store, guess what I realized? It's pretty much the same. So, you know, but you did, you know, you're like, oh, why would I buy that? And then you end up buying it and you're like, oh, it's not so bad. Why didn't I buy that? So again, it's getting them to have you, you know, think that what they're selling you is better than something else. You know, it's an idea.
It's funny because over here we're not allowed to advertise. Well, they're not allowed to advertise any sort of medicine. You know how you get advertisements for medicine. Ask your doctor. Yeah, right, we don't get that. We don't get any of that sort of. We don't get any medical medicine advertising at all whatsoever.
That's been a recent history thing. That's not been, you know, like we used to be able to advertise cigarettes on TV, of all things.
Yes.
But so that went away, and
Well-
the meds came in.
Yeah. But see, even that cigarette advertising, that was going to be the next thing I spoke about, is that Australia changed the world for their packaging. So you know how you have that olive green packaging with the dire warnings on the front and all that sort of stuff, instead of the brand names, like whatever the brand names were. Now it's that packaging, and that's been spread all throughout the world. But I don't know how effective it is, because what a lot of Australians did was they just changed the packaging themselves and put it into a thing, so they didn't have to look at poor Brian or you know, whoever's on the front. And it's just so in some ways over saturation of things also goes the other way. So in this instance, it's a health message, so it's a good message, but they're oversaturating the market type thing. So but there was also a thing that we had over here for AIDS, HIV, which was saying that if you've slept with one person without protection, then you've slept with basically all the other people that they've slept with without protection, basically. And it was like a grim reaper and somebody falling onto a bed of needles. And it was shocking. It was massively shocking because, one, you knew that the unprotected sex was bad. Two, you knew that also you doing generally, if you kind of looked into it, you'd know that using needles was bad, reusing needles was bad, and it was so shocking that it did change the course of HIV in Australia. So that's some ways that advertising is good, but it does seem to need to be shocking, and that's for the health, you know, the ones that are, you know, for our benefit. We need to be shocked into being healthy, and you know, yeah, I guess we do, because otherwise we're just going to wander around all like, oh no, we're all good, we're all fine, and then all these things that we've been told about because it's been there in the background, but it's like white noise, you know. And, you don't hear white noise, and that's why yelling at your children constantly becomes less effective, because it becomes white noise. So, but if you eventually, but if you're quiet all the time and then you're just like, bruh, all of a sudden, that's shocking them, you know. So it's like we as adults are still having that childlike response. So that's like, it's kind of amazing to think about, and you sort of got to wonder, you know, if they looked more into this, maybe we could do more about how we are as adults, because a lot of it is related to how we were as children. You know, do we ever really grow up?
Right.
Well, I happen to know that hucking cheese causes focus and emotion. So,
and cheese has something in it that's related to opiates, so it's addictive. So it's not the same, but it's on the same level. That's why people seem to, oh, cheese, I love cheese. So that's why I know there's no God, because he made me lactose intolerant, and I love cheese.
I thought it was just good ammunition. Who knew all of that? Oh man. Oh man. Wow.
Yeah. No, it really does look bad.
There's I guess you're gonna, Black Cat, there's a story where Christy once threw some cheese at her husband when she was none too happy with him.
No, he regretted his life choices at that moment in life. He looked at me and was like, oh, I went way too far. It's
so funny. There needs to be a short. You really need to make that a short.
You know, it's one of the things I'm thinking of is telling some of my Christy stories, and just making them like little, you know, little stories. That way everybody can know what's going on, because y'all, I do some things now. Like, really do some things. And you look at me.
Done some things.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, you're still here. Wow, okay, there is a higher power. You do have a guardian angel. Mine is probably like, God, she's up. What now? What today?
I think mine keep quitting, and they're drawing the short straw to me. See who's my next one. Oh, come on now! Shouldn't even listen anyway.
I've got Mindy, who is my childhood best friend. We have a story about getting bucked off of a little Shetland pony while looking at a woodpecker on a telephone pole. So I'm gonna do that story as a little short, and that's really funny too. So, like you said, when it comes to the yes, when it comes to ridiculous things, there's a lot of people who are like, but my life's been interesting.
I'm gonna head off because I need to just go lie down for a bit. I'm tired.
Okay.
It's been a day.
Okay.
It's been a day, and it's not even 8 o'clock in the morning yet.
Right. Well, yeah. Get some good rest. Love you.
And I'll talk to you tomorrow, if not next week.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Love you. Bye. Oh, very good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was starting to feel a little bit inadequate. I'm not the earner of the family right now, and that's starting to get to me. And ironically and stupidly enough, it made me want to go shopping, go on a shopping spree. So I'm like, I better catch myself, better check myself, I don't know why that's my go-to when I'm feeling bad about myself, which, it just, I had to really get a hold of myself and learn to deal with it another way. I can't just rely on dopamine hits. I've got to work on, being okay until something changes, It is what it is until it changes,
Is it anything? Oh, go ahead.
Great minds, Ben. I was gonna say, it's a hard place to be when you are someone in the family who's not earning. I am blessed enough that I don't have to have a job. My husband does well, but that doesn't mean that I don't feel bad about that. That I don't feel like I contribute, because I think we've put so much value as a society on money and what we have in the bank and what we're able to do and what we're able to have, that that when we're not doing that, even though, and he says to me all the time, he's like, but you do so much, it's like that is overlooked, and it's unfortunate that our society has taught us to be so money based in some ways, and that's not a bad thing. Like, you got to have money, you've got to pay your bills, but it doesn't mean that because you're not an income earner that what you do isn't important. And I think that's a very hard thing to work through, because I struggle with that, and I do that. I have a lot of trauma around money, and I'm like, I didn't earn it. It's not ours. And he's like, no, it is ours. And and I think it's more of a struggle for women, oddly enough, than it is for men, to struggle with not being an earner like that and not contributing on the same level that men do. And it's just, I think, because of the pay gap and everything that there is. But I want to say that I'm very, very proud of you, Carol, for reining yourself in from going on a shopping spree, because I know that there would have been a time where you probably wouldn't have thought about it the same way as you did, recently, and that shows a lot of growth.
I don't know that, there's always been a little something that nagged at me about it, It's known it's on a level that's not healthy. And it's feeding something that's not healthy within me,
Right.
I mean, a dopamine hit's only going to last so long. And then you've got the consequences
Right.
that last way longer than that dopamine hit. It's,
Right.
you know.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I all I could do is just rein it in and pray.
Just kind of wondering. I mean, this may not even necessarily work. Is there any way to temporarily replace it with? I mean, one of the things that I think Tommy was even suggesting was taking a 20-minute walk. Is there would
Maybe
that be
so.
feasible?
Yeah, around here, maybe not so much. I would need to drive somewhere to walk somewhere, believe it or not. There's a lot of unsteady ground around here. So, I do walk around here, but, you can't do the just therapeutic 20-minute walk thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not here anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Will the animals follow you around if you do?
Yeah. The girl goes especially. Yeah, they do actually.
You can become the Pied Piper and they all just kind of...
I'm something new and different that's entered into the field, Just a little change of scenery, I guess.
Right. But I can see where it could make someone feel not worthy by that, because I have definitely felt that way. And I think Cosmic was the one who just brought it up. Michael's even said to me, what you do is invaluable, to help us and the family and everything like that. It's not that I'm not doing something. But it does. And I think it's interesting, isn't it, that we feel that way. And I really do see it more in women. I really do. I don't see a lot of men that struggle with being an earner, because I think, and again, like societally and even pay scale, right now, I don't know about the whole world, but in the States, it's very unequal pay. And so, I think, I know I was raised to look at it differently. And so, a lot of that carried over. And it's made it hard. And so with the trauma around money and not earning, it's very difficult for me. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm like, I will take your credit card and I will go buy those shoes and I will thank you for it when you get home. So like, it's kind of one of those tricky places to be.
Izzy, my husband's never made me feel bad about the situation that I'm in. He's never treated me less than. It's more a thing within me.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to be contributing more.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I just haven't been able to find my way of figuring out what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken a few steps here and there, but I won't hear back on the closed captioning thing. They say can take up to 8 to 14 weeks to hear back on that. Mm-hmm. So, mm-hmm. everything you do, know how much I get paid for that job? 6 figures. Yeah. I do the work around here, but it's just, this farm is not a hand over fist moneymaker by any means.
Right.
It's a thing we did for Mom, and now I'm kind of here. Here we are.
Right.
I think what?
Do you think there's something? Do you think there's a way you could reframe it to, help you feel a little better until you hear back from those jobs or something? Because Steve, you have such an amazing husband. He's such an amazing man. Yeah. Do you think there's some way that you could reframe it for yourself that might help you a little bit?
I don't know. I hadn't really it's only been like the last couple of days that it's been
Mm-hmm.
really come into my awareness that it's been eating at me. It's been kind of a
Mm-hmm.
building thing. So I haven't really given that much thought, but I mean, I really kind of have got to
Mm-hmm.
find a way to reframe it because it is what it is right now.
Right.
And
Right.
if I could change it, I would,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Well, and that's important too. I mean, you are trying, you are making efforts. It's not like you're just um, expecting a certain behavior or something like that. Um, reframing it might be a good way to, help you manage until you hear back. And like I said, I think a really big one that you should be very proud of is, that you were like, oh, hold on, okay, we're not going to do this, but also that it's coming up for you and you're acknowledging it. You're not, you're not shoving it down in a corner and going on a shopping spree and potentially making things worse. I'm not saying that you would or you wouldn't, but
Well, I
might
mean,
make you personally feel that way.
temptation was definitely there, and it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
almost an unconscious thing that I, just could easily slip into.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
It's not like I have to go to the liquor store to do it,
right, right,
like with
right.
my other addiction,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well, I
just really highlights to me what an insidious thing addiction can really be. It's a sneaky little thing.
it is. It is. It is. It is. Well, and I think just being proud of yourself, for recognizing the temptation and, processing it through and seeing how this is, it is affecting you. Like, so you are facing it, rather than packing it away. You're facing it head on. And that's part of what you have to do to heal from anything or to face an addiction or whatever is you've got to look at it and go, okay, why are you here? Why are you doing this to me?
Right.
And sometimes those answers are really hard to find and you have to, peel a lot of layers to get to where it's at. But I'm proud of you. I'm very
Thank you.
proud of you. I really am.
I like this comment from Kim is interesting because we as a society have been trained to look at girls doing housework as expected and so having no value. Value has always been outside of the four walls of the home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I can wash dishes and fold laundry. Right on, Black Cat. You know what? I'm going to read this comment from Mayonnaise Entertainment. Carol, you are contributing by staying sober, not going on a shopping spree, and having this safe space for us on needing a meeting. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
You are.
Yeah.
You are.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We need to see how much this costs me to hire someone to do this. This is your value. Housekeeping is a minimum of $50 an hour, let alone the farm chores. Thank goodness my house is not a disaster. It wasn't too long ago that even that was not where it needed to be, but I wasn't where I needed to be. I,
Mm-hmm.
I needed some medication.
Well, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
a
I
farm
needed
is,
some medication because the medication is helping,
Mm-hmm.
and I like that comment because a farm is a house. A house is not a farm. It's nothing you can get up and
Right.
just leave, and you have to take care of animals and handle all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And
Yeah.
somebody's got to talk to that donkey to talk him off the ledge and stuff. So.
Tell him to get right with himself. Well, and I know for me, things in the past that have made me feel worse about not working has been when I've seen my husband working so hard to
Yeah.
provide and long hours. And I know what he does for a living, and I know how hard he works, and I know the conditions that he works in. It really does make me feel, this is just me, it makes me feel like, wow, he's out there, like he's in El Paso, it's over 100 degrees today, and he's going to be working a 12-hour day, in layers and welding in a metal tank. And here I am in an air conditioned house. Like
Yeah.
it's that kind of like messes with your mind a little bit too. Because you see, and it's not that one is different than the other. It's just that one is, you can see it on them. And for me, it makes me more appreciative for the things that that are provided. But it really does sometimes really make me feel, like you said, a little less than, because I see what he's doing and how hard he's working. And so it's not just one layer, it's not just one thing. It's a lot of things, that go into that, I think,
Yeah.
which makes it hard to really put your finger on or explain,
Yeah. Yeah. So I have to trust that there's a reason that I'm in the position that I'm in right now. And even if that reason is something that I imposed on myself somewhere back whenever, I also need to know, okay, well, what do I do about it? And what's realistic? What can I realistically do about it?
It sounds like that you've taken steps. It's just and I know this doesn't help because nobody likes to play the waiting game, and that it's just one of those things where you just have to just sit back and I do find thankfulness to help in situations like that. Just looking through, and this is, you're not the same person you are. Look at everything that you have done for this community, how many people you've helped. Now that's, there's nothing material about that, but a changed life, how much bigger can you get than that?
Wow.
That is something which, and I realize again that that's nothing material. You can't say, here's a stack of paper. You don't have that to look at, but it's a little more abstract. But
Yeah.
just look at what the people around you in this community say about you. I have yet to see anyone say anything bad about our Carol. So
True. This is true.
You need to remind yourself why you are at home. Is it rather like being at home when a man is out to sea? When my hubby would be gone for months at a time, my job was to keep his hearth and home. Okay.
you gotta.
And something to think on too. Are you? And I don't know that you are or aren't, and you definitely don't have to answer it. This is something for you to, I encourage you to think on. Are you putting more weight on things that maybe don't need the weight? Like, I mean, maybe it's not as dire as you feel it is. Maybe you're putting the weight in the wrong places. And maybe there's a conversation, that can be had, hey, I'm feeling this way. Where are we realistically? I'm not saying that you're wrong, in where you are, but maybe the weight just looks a little different. You know what I mean? And maybe waiting the 8 to 12 weeks isn't as big of a deal as maybe it is to you, because a lot of times to us, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
Yeah.
But maybe look at that. Is your focus and your weight on the right things? Mine never are. That's why I know to think that.
Yeah, it actually
again,
is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and again, you could be absolutely spot on with what you're thinking and feeling, but I know sometimes I'll think I'm spot on, and then I really sit down with Michael and have a conversation, and it's not what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
in a better way.
And it's actually flabbergastative. That's a word. Maybe. How much we like to catastrophize. Is that a verb? It is now.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. It all started out with all these storms around here. And I started feeling anxiety about that, and just started a cascade of catastrophizing. That's it.
Yeah, so I mean,
there is literal catastrophe around me. Just an hour up the road, there's total devastation from tornadoes.
Yeah, that is a good thing to get you. Unfortunately, and what else are you going to do about it? I get it, but I mean, that is something that's kind of really good at getting you in that emotional mind where you can't apply logic. And that's something we all need to work through, because we're all faced with triggering events. So I get it. It's something I'm working on as well. How do I handle this? How do I not climb into this? That is one thing that Christy raised, though, that I've noticed in my own life, is that occasionally I think, oh my gosh, this is the end. Oh, woe is me. And then you come up and get a realistic check-in, and it's like, okay, it may be as bad, but not quite as urgent. It may be this huge sum, but you know what? We got more time than what I thought. Or I know in my case, I way overblow everything. Everything negative, I overblow. Everything positive, I minimize. And
yeah, I think that's I don't know why it's so easy to do that, but it is.
Yeah, it is actually a symptom of depression. So, I think it's probably a natural human condition, because more people are depressed than actually admit it, I bet.
Yeah. I'm on 18 months and counting, housebound. Sam Fiber Fox. You are all amazing.
We're glad you're here, Sam.
I'm glad you found us too. I'm happy to see you.
Yeah.
Glad you're here. Yeah. I think that's true for all of us, Ben, says Henny. Yeah. It is. It's I wish I understood that part of us more. What evolutionary purpose did that serve at some point? Because it's so strong.
Yeah. Well, I've heard somebody say, I don't remember who. It may have been Jordan. I don't think it was Jordan Peterson, but they basically talked about how, when we're living in the jungle, you have a panther coming. Okay, there's a real threat. You have a spike in, fight or flight. You get over that, by whatever means, and then we can calm back down, because you have, the forest or whatever, animals moving around, just kind of, But it's like in today's society, we get these little fight or flight responses, and that builds up, and we never really come back down. At least that's what they were saying. We're just not, unfortunately, we're just not good at
coming.
Kind of like you look at a duck when they get stressed.
Doesn't just go away. The body retains it.
Yeah. When you look at a duck, when they get stressed, they'll flap their arms, even if they're not going anywhere. If something scares them, they flap their arms a little bit, and then they calm back down. But we don't do that. We kind of, and then we sit and work, or we, do our thing, but we don't really get it out of our system so much.
Right.
That's
And for me, I know when I, blow things way out of proportion, it's because that situation has caused me real, like, craziness in my life. And, so I just automatically assume it's going to be that bad again. And and so, like Ben was saying, my body just kicks into, oh my gosh, how are we going to pay this bill? Oh no, we might not be able to. Oh, great. Now we're living in a tent again, and the chickmunks are still in my chicken, and is that the case? No, that's not the case. I'm not going to be living in a tent again with the chickmunks eating my chicken. But to me, it's like, that's the first place that I go to. So, it might be a little bit of just, it might be a little bit of how you respond to the situation. Is, you're like, oh, it's going to be this bad again because it got here before, and maybe you're nowhere near that. You know what I mean? Like, you might not be in the same, you could be thinking it's in Jersey and you're really in Nevada, and it's nowhere near that, That's what I do. I instantly, great, let's go buy a tent. This is where it's going, and Michael's like, would you stop? So, it could just be your body remembering, something. It could even be from a long time ago, from your childhood or your early life, where, and it might not even have anything to do with Steve. It might be well beyond that, because that's another thing too. Michael pays for a lot of things. I get frustrated with him for a lot of things that he didn't even do. It took me a long time to figure that out. And so this could be something from, your time in the cult, or before that, or something like that. Could be when you were working so much and you were giving, and I mean, it could be that, it could be that coming back up, and not at all what it actually is now. Did I explain that right? Does that make sense?
Because your worth was in what you could do for the cult, and what you could provide for the cult. That was your worth. Yeah. It wasn't spoken out loud, but it was the message was loud and clear.
Yeah.
Right. And now you're the complete opposite of that. Your worth is your love for Steve. Your worth is what you provide in the marriage. I mean, not only your worth, that's not the only thing that it is your worth, but it's complete opposite of that. And that can sometimes take time getting used to as well.
Yeah.
You are worth way more than just being a wife and loving Steve. You have a lot of worth and value. I don't want it to sound like that maybe didn't sound well. My words today.
Yeah, well, having that message, not even paraphrase, or not even put in those terms, but it was something that I know a lot of those cults operate the same way, and it was something reinforced over and over and over again. That stuff takes a toll. We like to think, oh no, I'm out of it now, it doesn't affect me. That was, my traumatic event was one event, but at least the major event was one event, and I kept thinking, well, I'm aware of it, I'm not in it anymore. Okay, I'm okay. And it's like, no, this caused behaviors way down the line. It wasn't until like, why do I freeze up when I see this? Why do I do the things I do that don't make sense?
Yeah.
And until I was in therapy, like, oh, okay, I get it. I don't like it. I don't want it, but I get it. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
The difference between the pigeon and us is we remember task terrors triggering our current responses. The pigeon calms because it does not remember.
Mhm.
Right on, Kim. Well, a lot to think about and journal about, huh?
I gotta say, I did like the imagery that Christy's example brought to my mind. Granted, I don't know what a chipmunk looks like, but I envisioned 5 squirrels trying to carry a chicken off with their front arms and doing this number. But
It was a chicken leg. Yeah. So in my mind, so we had so quick. We'll end on a positive note. So we're gonna call it tent camping, living in a tent, and we had a tent that had the food in it and a tent that we were sleeping in, and Michael was working, but there was a lot of like strikes going on in the refinery that he was working in, and so he wasn't getting the normal hours. So we had the food. Michael had said it was okay to leave it in the food tent. I took him to work. I came back and there was a hole in the bottom of the tent. And I was like, wait a minute, why is that hole there? That wasn't there before. And there was a rustling in the tent. And so I very nervously opened the tent and there was all these chipmunks in there eating our food. I mean, all of the food that we had for the next couple of days, they were eating the chicken, they were eating the salad, they were eating the bread, they were eating everything. And I just sat down and cried. And in my mind, I know this did not happen, by the way, y'all, but in my mind, I envisioned one little chipmunk eating a hole through, and then he went back and got all his little chipmunk friends, and then they came back, and it was like Alvin and the Chipmunks, and they had a party, right? And they ate all my food. And that's what I envisioned. So, but yeah, so now I can laugh at that. It's really hilarious. And I focus more on the chickmunk, and just how I didn't know chickmunks ate chicken, and chicken legs.
I had no idea. I didn't know they were omnivores.
No, and apparently they have to be trained to be that way. So these chickmunks had a long history of kind of like Yogi Bearing it, right? Like getting into the picnic basket and running off with whatever. And so, these guys just went and got all of their friends. And in the moment, I was sad because the food was gone. But now I laugh because could you imagine? You open the tent and there's a chickmunk party in there. You're like, what's happening right now? So again, perspective changes, as time goes on and you get away from the situation. But yeah.
That does work a lot better than 5 squirrels carrying off a live chicken. Like I kept thinking, wow.
No, they were eating the good old fried chicken. They were Southern chickmunks. Apparently.
Chipmunks gone bad. Okay.
Right. Well, good. Well, it has been very, very fun. So thank you guys for having me on. It was a good time. And Carol, I as always, you're an amazing host, and Ben, as always, you are a riot. So, and everybody that was in the chat, it was good to see. Yes, the little jerks forgot to invite me, and they ate all my food. Little rodents that they are. I had to stop myself. And on that note, I will see you all later.
To see you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Carol.
Thank you, Ben. Good, yeah, and a good topic because we all fight with that in one way or another at some point.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's something that I wish I could say will never come up again, but that nagging little voice will. Yeah, we have to battle it constantly. I wish it wasn't true, but
I wish it wasn't too.
But I do wish you a great day, and hopefully your therapy session with the donkey is good as well.
Right on.
You take care.
You too, Ben. Woo, you guys, thank you. Thank you for the support that you lend here and the heart that you bring. I love it. It's a great community. You guys are awesome. So tomorrow is Friday, and I hope to see you again next meeting, which will be 3:40 tomorrow. And until then, peace, y'all.